Today, we're diving into a truth that feels so basic. Now it's almost, boring. Blood circulates.
Right.
But let's rewind to the 17th century, because proving that was a scientific bombshell. Our mission today is to explore how William Harvey used hard evidence to change medicine forever.
And it's so important to grasp the world he was in. The common sense of the time was completely different. It was all based on the ancient Galenic tradition.
So what did that actually mean for blood?
Well, the theory wasn't circulation. It was that blood was constantly being made somewhere, maybe in the liver, and then it flowed out to the arms and legs and was just consumed.
Consumed, like
Sweet.
fuel.
Exactly, like a wick in a candle. So the heart was important, sure, but its role as the central pump in a closed loop, that wasn't part of the model at all.
So if that was the established truth for centuries, how did Harvey even begin to chip away at it? He must have needed some really shocking, undeniable proof.
He did. And his real genius, I think, was in his methodology. It was radical for the 1600s. He moved beyond just dissecting corpses, which was static.
He started experimenting on live animals.
Yes, to see the system in motion. He was using techniques like ligation.
Basically tying off a blood vessel to see what happens.
Precisely. And he'd tie it off and see, okay, the blood pools on this side toward the heart. It was active, repeatable experimentation.
But I've heard his most powerful weapon wasn't actually the scalpel.
No, not at all. It was arithmetic. That was the real aha moment. He used quantitative reasoning.
He just did the math.
He just did the math. He asked a really simple question. How much blood does the heart pump with each beat? And then what does that add up to over, say, an hour?
And the number he got was huge.
It was astronomically large. I mean, the body would have to produce and consume its entire weight in blood multiple times a day. The logistics were physically impossible.
So there was no way the body could be a blood factory working that fast.
Exactly. That numerical impossibility led him to the only other logical conclusion. The same blood must be going around and around in a circle. It has to circulate.
And he also has some physical evidence pointing to that from his time in Padua.
Right, from his teacher, Fabricius, who had described these little valves inside the veins.
But Fabricius didn't quite know what they were for.
No, but Harvey figured it out. He saw they were like little one-way doors. They would only let blood flow toward the heart, not away from it.
Which is the opposite of what the old theory would predict.
It completely contradicted it. And all this culminated in his 1628 book, The Motu Cordis on the Motion of the Heart and Blood.
And I imagine that went over really well with the establishment.
Oh, of course not. He faced huge resistance. People called him a circulator, which was not a compliment. It was an insult.
But even with all that evidence, there was still one tiny piece of the puzzle missing for him, wasn't there?
There was, a critical one. He knew the arteries carried blood away from the heart and veins brought it back, but he could never actually see how they connected.
The capillaries.
The capillaries, yeah. They were just too small for the technology of his day. But his theory absolutely required them to exist for the whole system to work.
And they were eventually found.
Decades later, yes. A man named Malpighi, using an early microscope, finally saw them. And that just solidified Harvey's entire model. It was the final proof.
So when you look back, his legacy isn't just about discovering circulation.
No, that's the key takeaway. It's not what he found, but how he found it. He shifted medicine from, just trusting ancient authority to relying on experiment, on observation, and most importantly, on measurement.
That reliance on data is really the foundation of modern physiology.
It is. Everything comes back to that.
So here's a final thought for you to mull over. Harvey was the royal physician for two kings, James I and Charles I. Now, imagine trying to present this incredibly detailed, evidence-based argument, one that shatters centuries of belief to men who are used to absolute, unquestioned authority. What does that tell us about the power of undeniable data, even when it's up against the most powerful and resistant forces?